So the idea is we are offering these content creators and influencers a passive income earning opportunity for the existing content catalog, as well as new content that they're going to be producing and bringing forward. And by in turn, giving their audiences a new experience on their platforms.
My understanding was you were producing like stock photos of these images, but that is so much cooler.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Founders Ascent. Today, we have a special guest, Kevin Blake Thomas, founder of Tychon. So, Mr. Blake Thomas, give us a quick introduction about yourself. What do you do, and how'd you get started doing it?
Hi, good day, Gavin. Good day, BJ. Good day to the tuned-in audience. First off, I'd just like to say it's a really pleasure to join you guys today on Founders Ascent. Thank you for the invite, and really looking forward to today's conversation. So just a little bit about background about myself. As you said, my name is Kevin Blake Thomas. I'm the co-founder of a startup that's called Tychon. That's in the marketing space, but we'll get into a little bit of that. In terms of background and career, I've been in the technology space 18 plus years now. And what has been a common thread in terms of the different roles that I've gone through is that I've always been in a customer-facing type role. So I would have started off my career as a software developer, but it was not your traditional software developer role. It was more of a consultant type role. So out there having conversation with customers, understanding problems, working with them to come up with solutions. So that's something that I always thought was interesting from the perspective that I always wore multiple hats. So it was a combination of that product manager, trying to understand the business side of things, as well as being able to understand the technical side of things. And that persisted throughout my career, going through into more senior roles and technical roles, making that transition into the business side. And really and truly along the way, as each year starts, just as how we are fresh into 2024 right now, you take some time and reflect. Somewhere in the journey, I reflected, what did I want to accomplish in years to come? And that's when I started really soul searching and realizing that I really loved problem solving directly for customers and wanting to be able to create an impact in the world in a positive manner. So I believe that would have been the major catalyst and shift in me moving from corporate and going into the startup journey, just risking it all, taking off the gloves, just going to battle, rolling up my sleeves, working with my co-founders, grinding, failing, until we find some measure of success. And here I am today, So still at it, still grinding. Certainly progressed significantly ahead, but happy with the choices that I've made.
Awesome. So I want you to talk a little bit about Tychon. So from my understanding, it's something that helps people on, I guess, your marketing specifically for Shopify, help them integrate their product within images.
Yeah, that's correct. So the simple explanation to Tychon is that we help Shopify merchants increase their sales through shoppable images. So I think we've all heard the concept of a shoppable image. The idea is that you want to be able to make a purchase from an image, but it's been really difficult to achieve that experience. We would like to think that we have unlocked the secret and the glue for that. And the way that we do that is a little bit differently in terms of what you see on the market today. So the core of what we offer to our customers is called virtual product placement. I'm sure you guys know what product placement is. You look at movies, you see cars, you see laptops, you see brands. That's product placement. Yeah. So the idea is that we want to be able to use that concept in a more real-time, scalable manner for e-commerce brands, specifically Shopify stores. So we have devised an approach, a two-step approach, that is leveraging influencer marketing, but with a twist. And when you think of influencer marketing, you want to bring a brand, you want to bring an influencer, content creator, and help them build a relationship, agree on terms, and execute some work. Where that differs with Tychon is that we don't actually bring them together to collaborate. The brand is actually paired with well-performing content that is owned by the content creator or the influencer, who has a target audience that is of specific interest to the brand. And it's that content we take as Tychon, and augment it using our unique AI platform that we have built from the ground up. And that AI embeds the brand's product into their images and makes it shoppable. So the vision really is that we want to make all images on the internet shoppable so that a consumer can discover a product right there in the moment, click on it, learn about it, maybe have an interactive experience, see it in different use cases. And if they so love that, they can purchase it. I like to describe it as that experience, that rush that you get when you're in the grocery, in the supermarket, you're right there at the cashier, you look to the left, you see the little stands with the sodas, the gums, and you get that impulse to pick it up and buy it. We want to bring that energy into the digital world when you discover a product in an image.
Very cool. Oh, and so you're getting these images from influencers, they're producing content, and then you're taking that content and throwing Shopify merchants, their products into those images using AI.
100% correct. You get it. So the idea is we are offering these content creators and influencers a passive income earning opportunity for the existing content catalog, as well as new content that they're going to be producing and bringing forward. And by in turn, giving their audiences a new experience on their platforms.
My understanding was you were producing like stock photos of these images, but that is so much cooler.
Yeah.
Being able to associate the passive income I love for the influencers, because that's another way for them another revenue source, but they don't have to like tap their audience necessarily for it. It's sort of a passive thing.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So think of it as you got this catalog. Let's say you're a blogger. You have 100 blog posts. Maybe on each blog you have about 2 images. So that's 2 by 100. That's 200 images that you have sitting down there that's doing nothing, but you're still getting monthly traffic on those blogs. We can take those 200 images, run it through our service, start embedding products into it that's obviously aligned with you, because we want that level of authenticity. Authenticity is an important word in the Tychon ecosystem. And once a consumer comes back to that blog, they see something different. Once that product is inserted, there's a call to action that's very subtle, that captures their attention, and they begin that discovery and exploration process of the product.
Okay, so are you guys marketing this towards people that are like influencers, or are you marketing it to people on Spotify, or both?
Right. So our customer, the one who's paying for the service, it's the Shopify brands. All right.
Okay.
Yes, we need to have an engagement. We need to have a relationship with creators for them to join our network. So think of it as a dual marketplace of sorts. We have 2 audiences, but we bring them together differently and we engage them differently. So for creators, it's 100% free. We give you money instead of we asking you for money.
Okay, cool. So the influencers have extra incentive to go on this, it seems.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing
That's
is
really cool.
You don't need to do any additional work. There's no extra effort on your part that you need to
That's the cool
expend.
part about it. Yeah.
Right. So the only thing you need to do is join the platform, which we know is pretty simple. You click, you register, log in with Google, account setup, and you connect your blog. Today we are only working with blogs, but that's going to expand. You connect your blog to the Tychon network, which is very much similar to, let's say, dropping a Google Analytics on your page. Copy a snippet of code, drop it on your page. That's it. And once that code is there, the magic begins. The Tychon platform is able to discover, find the images, download them, send it across to us. We process them. And when somebody comes to the website, we swap out the original image for the productized version of the image. And once those clicks start happening, as a creator, you come back, you see that, hey, Tychon has some money for you that's going to be coming in the bank at the end of the month.
I can't stop smiling. This is such a, like, everything in my brain, every like dopamine spike for a good business idea is just going off right now. Because I think there's so much I want to unpack here. First things first, where did this come from? Where did you get this sort of idea? What was the first thought of what Tychon might be?
Right. So amazing question. And to answer that question, I need to go far back as 2015
Okay.
because uh, we did not originally start off with Tychon. We actually pivoted into Tychon. So we started, and when I say we, sorry, this is me and my co-founding team, Roland Nansing, he's the CRO at Tychon, Darwin Fevick, he's the CTO at Tychon. So these three guys from an island here in Trinidad and Tobago, which is in the Caribbean, all grounded in this passion for entrepreneurship, creating and charting our own way forward, came together with the idea that we wanted to build a food tourism app. And the idea behind it was really simple. When you go to your next destination, you should feel like a local. You should not always be eating in the restaurant, at the hotel, or eating fast food. You want to find the hidden gems and have those great meals that only locals know about. So the idea was match with a friend ahead of time in the destination, and when you get there, you have that friend who's on the ground who can take you around, shop you around, maybe even take you to their home and prepare a meal for you. That was the idea. But it was our first foray into the startup world, building a business ourselves, building a product. And we made every possible mistake under the sun. So it took us some while to get to some traction. When we really started to make some waves, I would say that was around 2019, 2020. Along the way, we were recognized by the world's authority in tourism, the United Nations World Tourism Organization, UNWTO, as a top startup. And that really gave us the extra push to keep going. So we launched. We were able to launch in 43 different countries and grew a membership of 20,000 users. So we thought we were doing good. We're going to start. We're going to keep pushing. I don't know if you guys heard of this little thing. They call it COVID-19. It came out of nowhere and brought the business to a screeching halt because planes were grounded. No one was thinking of travel. Everyone was fearful for their lives. So we said we're going to rally. We thought this thing might last 2 months. It lasted 2 years. Eventually, along the way, we had to make that hard decision to shut down the business. We tried coming up with alternatives, future planning, things like that. Nothing really stuck. So we decided to pivot and look at the business hard. And we found that there were some weaknesses, inherent weaknesses in the business. So how could we fill those gaps and correct those things? But one of the key things that stood out was a feedback from a team member who said they never really felt comfortable sharing food images on the platform just yet because their images never really looked amazing and popping like you would find it happening if you go to a studio to do it. Maybe it's the lighting and things like that. So that started us having a conversation. How could we augment images? How could we improve images? Maybe there are filters that we can create. And that took us down the pathway of, you know what? Instead of editing an image, if we assume an image looks amazing, what if we can add something that's not already there? And these images are ones that content creators are creating, and that took us down a rabbit hole of so many wacky ideas and eventually transformed into Tychon. And what really propelled that is we were already building a network of food and travel ambassadors. So we wanted to really leverage that network that we had, and the pieces just started to come together from there.
That's an amazing pivot.
So you just got the never told story of how Tychon was born.
That's the twist at the end of the book you can never see coming, but it's there if you look back. Like connecting with the influencers, working on the images, like all that stuff. I'm like, where is this going to happen? And then you explain it, like, that's so perfect. But making all these mistakes with you first, before that, for 4 years. I know people who quit after 4 months with some business idea, myself included, because something goes wrong, something breaks, and it's difficult. Where did that motivation come from to be able to do that for so long and sort of still try to hit that success? I mean, you were making some progress, but...
So I think it's a couple of things, but I would broadly call them the validations that we were getting from the market, from third parties, from potential customers, as in merchants who would want to be listed on the platform. For us, as an example, some of the mistakes that we made was let's use a third party agency to build the app for us. that was a huge cost sinkhole. And the idea was, let's build as much as possible and then go to market with this thing. Where the industry practice is, you start small, you launch quickly, you test, you iterate, and then you improve. So for us, it's we sort of buried our head in the sand and started to crunch away and do things because we believed that we had all the great ideas. But you could build a product that no one wants to use. So the first version sort of fell into that bucket of just going into the abyss. All right, we see the concept, but this is not really delivering value. We're not getting excited about it. What if? What if? What if? So we started having conversations with customers, with potential users, and that took us to the drawing board. So in addition to long development cycles, sort of learning on the fly, that's how we started to pick up momentum gradually. I think for us, it wasn't just about failure that we saw it as learning opportunities along the way. One of the I would say most prudent steps that we took was that we didn't just jump into the business 100% full time. We said, let's feel this out, let's learn, we're going to make some mistakes. So we had full-time jobs, so this was a side gig at the time. So again, naturally that would take a longer period of time if you versus doing it full-time and things like that. So we were cautious along the way. And that really allowed us the latitude to continue to dig in, commit more time, commit more resources, and get us to that launching point.
And so you were doing all this, working on this for, what was it, 6 years?
Yeah, thereabout.
And then devastating, nothing you can do about it, events just destroys all that work.
Yeah, it's catastrophic. It was an emotional period. You can imagine how the team was feeling, on the cusp of something good coming our way, and just blow us out of the water.
And so you're doing this difficult thing, working really hard. It all falls apart because of nothing to do with you guys. And then you guys decide to hop to do something even more difficult. These two-way marketplaces you're trying to build, those are one of the best business models, but also super challenging because you have the chicken and egg where you need influencers, you need merchants. And so you kind of already had some of the influencers from the previous project, which helps. Is there anything else you're doing to sort of win at the chicken and egg where, for those who don't know, sort of the problem with two-way marketplaces like Airbnb, Uber, all that stuff. For like Uber, you can't get people to download the app as a rider unless there are already drivers on the platform. And drivers won't get the app until you get riders. And so Uber's solution was to get a loss on all the rides at the beginning to just grow as fast as possible. And then they ramp up the prices, as we've seen now. But what are you doing sort of to battle that chicken egg problem?
So I think it's a combination of market forces that's happening right now. So when you think of one of the key questions, anyone who may be interested in investing in you, one of the key questions they're going to ask is, why now? And I think why now is the answer to that question. So what do I mean by that? We live in a world that I call the post-EAT advertising. I forgot the acronym, it's slipping out of my head, but Apple had a technology that allows you to track your audiences, and they have since changed that as of 2021. You may have seen headlines in the newspapers talking about Facebook Meta is on track to lose $10 billion in advertising revenue because of this simple change. What does that mean day to day? That meant that advertising, online digital advertising, became less impactful than it traditionally was. So much so that almost 50 cents on every dollar that is spent is wasted and it goes down the drain. So you're spending money, but no one is really seeing the ad. Or if someone is seeing the ad, it's not your target audience that's seeing the ad. So what that led to is that brands are now looking for more cost-effective ways. That's one. Secondly, influencer marketing. This big term, this big shift in how you can engage with your audience, that has been on the rise. I think that market is a trajectory 23 billion right now. And what that means is that brands are already using influencer marketing in some form or fashion, or some are thinking about doing that. So introducing this concept of positioning a third party who has influence over a potential customer to say, use your product, that's something that is a brand to understand because it's there and it's taking place. That's the second element. And then the third element for us is the glue. Traditionally, virtual product placement is a post-production type activity. So when you think of the movies, you shoot, you film, and then you go into post-production, and then you add these things in. For us, we're able to do this in real time, thanks to the magic of AI and the proliferation that we see with AI and the cost for building these models and things dropping. And the final element is customer behavior. Customers are fed up of ads. They experience this thing called ad fatigue. They don't want to see it. The statistic is that 82% of them avoid ads completely. So I think all of those combine to brew what I call the perfect storm that helps Tychon in that regard. We have creators who are anxiously looking for new platforms to help them extend their revenues. We have brands that are looking for more cost-effective or more inexpensive ways to position their products. And I think naturally for us, when we drill down into the brand side, we identified Shopify as a key starting point for us. So rather than trying to attack all e-commerce brands, we focused on a segment that we can reach and have a predictable and a repeatable process of acquiring, engaging, and delivering value for at the end of the day. So that simplified the product that we needed to build for them at the end of the day. So our app is distributed as a Shopify app. So it's available in the Shopify store to download. It's free to download. And for creators, like I said, we have removed all friction that they would normally associate with influencer marketing, negotiating rates, turnaround times for delivery. All you need to do is sit back and we monetize your existing content catalog for you.
Okay. So I want to talk more about what you're talking about earlier with your first startup and how you guys jumped straight into getting a third party to build it for you and throwing a ton of money in something without necessarily getting that feedback from everybody else, making sure that you actually needed it to begin with. So what did the process look like with Tychon building that MVP, and how did you know in the beginning that there was actually a market for it before you started building, or did you?
So it's all about customer discovery. So we had some conversation with brands that were potentially interested in the original platform. Hey guys, we've reached out. We're building something new. Is this something that's going to be interest for you? If you can reach your audiences through different means, and positioning it through a content creator where you don't need to manage that relationship, that's not an extra cost. That's not an extra burden for you. Would that be of value to you? Would that be something that you'd be willing to pay for? So it's a lot of conversations like that. In the early of Tychon, I would say we made a mistake, but it was a valuable learning lesson. So we were building initially what I would call the traditional influencer marketing platform with our unique value proposition buried way at the deep. And it's when we went through the Techstars program, so we were selected to participate in Techstars. For those who may not know, Techstars is one of the world's renowned startup accelerators. So if you want to think of the top three, it's Y Combinator, Techstars, 500 Startups. So think of it as the Ivy League school for startups. And we got real exposure there. Just one big shout out for Techstars for believing and having the faith in us, because in their 17-year history, Tychon was the first Caribbean founded startup to be selected into any cohort. So that in itself was an accomplishment.
That's awesome.
They wrote a check for us based on the idea because they saw the potential behind it. And when we got into pitching to Techstars, going up on the stage for the first time pitching, they said, you guys have a great concept, but think of it as layers. You have so many layers that you need to go through before you get to your core value proposition. And all of the layers above, you have zero differentiation. Find a way to get rid of those and focus on that one core thing. So essentially, we were doing too many things. We were trying to source creators the traditional way. We were trying to negotiate with them the traditional way, where there are big platforms like Grin.co, Influencer.co that are doing these things amazingly well. So we realized that, hey, we needed to do a small pivot. Let's trim what I'm calling the fat, trim that off, and let's just focus on virtual product placement. And the value that created was that all of these influencer platforms that are there now are no longer competitors. They're actually now potential partners for us to acquire more creators than we can ever possibly imagine.
So did you go to TechSource with just the idea and not the MVP?
So we were building the MVP at the time. We hadn't had a demoable product, a tangible product just yet at the time, and we did not have paying customers. We had customers prepaid, as in they were ready to pay and utilize the platform, but we did not run them through a campaign. While in the Techstars program, we got about three paying customers. We generated about 10K in sales off of that over 1 quarter. And the MVP version of it was, all right, let's do traditional product placement for now because the AI is going to take a little while. So let's prove the concept of bringing a creator with good content, putting the brand's product in it, and seeing what's the consumer behavior and the appetite for purchasing. So that's what really validated it for us. We had those 3 campaigns were really successful. Brands started reaching out, asking to participate, wanting to learn more. So we took that as validation. So we started to build some very crude AI, and that's what led us down the journey to where we are right now. So again, to your point, customer discovery, testing the concept as early as possible in a small MVP type fashion, getting learnings from that, and with that validation, then making the commitment to build a more polished product, but still MVP stage and iterating from there over a period of time.
Got it.
Phenomenal. I'm just so amazed by this. For an influencer creator, how much can they sort of expect to make based off the size of their following and all their posts? Like, what?
So great question. I don't really have a formula for that just yet. So we are doing a relaunch actually next month and in the next couple of days. So we're going to start gathering some data and getting the correlation between audience size, audience behavior, and those sort of things. I think that's important in terms of showing the creator the value that Tychon can bring to you, what the value of your content potentially is on that Tychon platform. So we're still trying to figure out what that would look like. But I think a potential benchmark is maybe looking and comparing that against a Google AdSense. I'm not saying that we are as big and widespread as they are, certainly not. But think of it in terms of the model potentially like that.
Okay, very cool. And then with so currently it's just bloggers, but obviously this has potential to expand beyond that. It's interesting that just earlier today I was looking in and researching AR marketing, like augmented reality with filters, where like Sephora has something where you can try on the makeup with a phone camera filter before you buy it, so you can see what it looks like. And similar thing, different in the sense that you've tapped into influencers and this passive income idea for them, which I'm loving. Sounds like we need to start a blog to start taking advantage of this, because this sounds like a great idea. And so, what in terms of the technology behind it, what sort of are you using to build it? If someone else wanted to do something similar in a different space, what might they look into to help, like the real tools and the nitty gritty of how this gets done?
Right, good. So we are operating in this space specifically called computer vision. So sort of breaking down what happens. Think of us having an input, some sort of processing that takes place with computer vision, and an output. So there are 3 steps. The input is the image, and the output essentially is after the computer looks at the image, it's able to identify. Well, first off, it understands the image. What is the context? So right now, if I look at the screen, I'm seeing BJ. He's sitting in a room. There's a flat back wall behind him. Maybe it's a study room of some sort. There's a flat ceiling above it, and it's going to be able to identify particular positions that are ideal, that are unblocked, that are very visible where a particular brand or product, logo, you name it, could be positioned such that it's going to have high visibility and it's going to capture the attention of the audience. So it's going to demark particular areas. So what does that mean? Essentially, the AI can look at it and say, hey, there's 5 digital white space areas for opportunities for product placement, and we can insert a product into it. So for us, the approach that we took with that wasn't really initially reinventing the wheel. So we have been using a lot of open source AI technologies in the in the computer vision space that allowed us to mock up prototypes and help us to build what we have currently today. Certainly, we are seeing a lot of advances in AI. We are hearing a lot about OpenAI, DeepAI, and the likes of those that are doing things in large language models, and they're also in the generative AI space. So technically, we would be under that umbrella of generative AI in that we are actually creating something, but not from scratch, not from a prompt. We are feeding an existing piece of content and augmenting that content with a specific end result in mind. So essentially, that's how the technology works. I'm thinking for anyone that is looking to come in to test these things, quick and rapid testing and rapid development is the name of the game now. You want to be able to launch this thing quickly and test. By all means, you could leverage these existing products that are there on the market. They are at significantly affordable price points that you can tap into their AI, their APIs, include them into your product, do the necessary processing to generate whatever it is that you're creating that's unique at the end of the day. One caveat that I would bring with that, though, you need to ensure that what you're doing is significantly differentiated. So maybe think of it as it's a second level function of what OpenAI already does, because you run the risk or the other things that you're using, they incorporate what you're doing natively within their product, and your business becomes irrelevant immediately because they already have mass distribution and large audiences. And an example of that is a lot of folks started building AI-powered PDF readers. So it's thinking of it, think far ahead, but how can you use what's there and differentiate it?
One of the things that I think is really great about this is the fact that yours probably circumvents ad blockers, because it's so subtly embedded in the content that ad blockers just don't cause a problem with. Which big companies like YouTube, that's a major thing that they're trying to crack down on so they can promote their premium, is cutting down ad blockers and making it challenging, which I think is causing problems for them trying to solve that problem. But with you just completely avoid that, and you tap into all these, like, frankly, futuristic stuff. The influencer marketing, I think, is only going to get bigger. AI, everyone knows where that's headed. Well, no one knows where that's headed, but it's headed big places. And then the passive income and all these different things, I think it's just so perfectly positioned for the future. I am so excited to see what happens with Tychon.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the point about ad blocking. That's one of the technologies and the ways that consumers now are avoiding these ads. It's a browser extension that's there. It sits in the background. You don't see it, and you don't get pushed any promotion and content like that. Are we 100% foolproof against ad blockers? Not too sure just yet. Maybe someone may crack the code, find a way, do some stuff. But as it is right now, I think the key thing to understand is how we position what we are calling advertising is 100% different. It's embedded in the content, it's relevant to the content, and it's relevant to the consumer. So if you were to compare it to when you go to, let's say, a news outlet and you look at their site, it's littered with ads. Some of the ads are throwing off the ordering of the page, and it's very difficult to navigate. We avoid that 100% because it's in content, in product placement, advertising that we are doing there.
And even if someone does manage to create some ad blocker for you guys, they would be losing a piece of the content. They would be getting just text rather than having the images. And
Exactly.
so even if I knew how, I'm not sure I would want that, because those images add something, and the fact that there's a product in there doesn't really hurt my experience in any way.
Correct. So now, I think that's a very interesting and correct point that you bring. The ad blockers, the problem that they solve is there's an annoying experience. But if they apply it to Tychon, you are now creating an annoying experience and a disadvantage to the consumer, to the viewer at the end of the day. Love that. Very, very valid point.
Yeah, that is interesting because I think, um, like in a movie, if there's ad placement there, I don't think that necessarily brings down the value of the movie in any way. And I think again, too, people aren't necessarily going to like people aren't going to necessarily look at that and think it's bad or they're not necessarily just going to skip over it just because they see some subtle ad placement in it. I think it is an interesting idea because if I see an outright ad, chances are I'm going to skip it. But if it's embedded into some sort of content that's actually adding value to me, I'm gonna stick around. Kind
Yeah.
of like those Mr. Beast videos when I think he does a really good job with ads there because he almost forces you to watch the ad in a way because
Right.
he brings it up and then goes back to the video for a few seconds and then brings it up again and then goes back to the video, so it's almost impossible to actually skip it because you're missing out on the actual content, which is what you
Exactly.
signed up
He's
for in the
weaving it
beginning.
in.
Yeah.
So what we actually call our experience, Tychon puts the brands in content rather than around the content. So think of the pre-roll, the mid-roll, and the post-roll. We eliminate that altogether, and it can stay with you throughout the lifetime of that piece of content. So
Mm-hmm.
I sort of gave a little sneak peek there. I don't know if you guys realize that. But today we are starting in images, but soon enough we're going to be launching shoppable videos for Tychon as well,
I think that's gonna be cool.
right? And what that means is that you can discover that product within the video, pause that video, learn more about that product, um, go to it, and resume your content viewing experience. And the beautiful thing is, you as the content viewer remain in control of that experience.
And so, phenomenal idea. I'm loving that Founders Ascent viewers are getting a sneak peek into exclusive just for us into what's going to be rolling out in a couple days.
Of
But
course.
one of the things that I think I believe in is no matter how good the idea is, execution is everything. And
Of course.
your idea is like amazing. Like I'm blown away. I think it's one of the best business ideas I've heard of. But in terms of the execution, what do you think's making you guys do so well at this? What, in terms of the team, in terms of sort of just how you guys think and operate? Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, essentially the core founding team, the three guys on an island. We've been collaborating for 8+ years across several different initiatives. So we're like brothers now today. And I think our strength is our team. So I mentioned Raul, Darwin, my co-founders. Raul has a background in sales and marketing with over 22 years doing that across B2B and B2C, and he has expertise in the advertising space and digital agency space. Darwin, he has 17+ years in software development, building enterprise scale and mission critical systems. I myself, like I said, have been in technology consulting, and I have done a lot of enterprise sales. So we are, as combined, we have complementary skills. So I like to call us a triple threat. We can sell, we can market, and we can build. So it all happens in-house. We don't need to go outside to get to reach a certain point where we need to be for the business. So that's really what excites me. We have been down some dark parts in terms of the founder, the startup journey, losing that business, having to pivot, and we have persevered. So for us, there are 3 guiding principles: purpose, passion, and persistence. We each have a different purpose. I like to say that for me, my purpose is to help others achieve their purpose through delivering solutions like these that help them transform their lives. So think of a business owner who, at the end of the day, her purpose really is to spend more time with her kid, be able to take him to his sports and things like that. Making that business profitable allows her the opportunity to have free time to do those things and connect with her kids and focus on those things. So for me, that's really the purpose at the end of the day. You hear it in the voice, passion. This is what really drives us. This is what motivates us. We want to see this thing become a success because we know how many lives that this can impact and touch positively. Yeah. And perseverance. We're going to dig in, whether it's stumbling blocks, whatever you throw at us, we are going to persevere. We're going to recover. Blood, sweat, and tears, as Winston Churchill said. We're going to persevere and we're going to get to the end, and we're going to be victorious.
In some ways, that's kind of opposed to some like Silicon Valley sort of philosophy. Because with Silicon Valley, sticking with a company for 2 years, 5 years, that's out of the norm. The idea is you move around a ton and you shake things up and things happen. But with you guys have stuck together for 8 years and built such this like super high trust relationship where you guys know how each other operate and you're in sync and you can do this.
Yeah, so I think that's a key selling point, because when an investor is coming in and looking at founders like ourselves for this business, yes, it's very early stage still, but one of the key things that they're going to be investing in is the team, is the people.
Yeah.
So maybe it's 60-40, 60% the people, 40% of the business. Yes, they're going to be competitors. Maybe Google rises up and does something, but I trust these guys would be able to stick it through. These guys will come up with something. These guys will have a solution, whether that is Tychon 2.0 or it's a pivot again, but I trust these guys. And I think that's why the team is our strength.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like something Naval Ravikant would say. He says that if you don't see yourself doing business with somebody for the rest of your life, don't do business with them for a day. And so It kind of sounds like you guys are okay doing business with each other for the rest of your lives, which is cool. I guess you could apply compound interest to that relationship. It's only going to get stronger and stronger over time. But I guess I have one more question for you before we go over to the rapid fire. My question is, what is your biggest piece of advice for young entrepreneurs? And I kind of want you to bring examples in of big failures you've had in the past with some of your previous startups.
All right. So I would say, if you can dream it, you can build it. Take the leap, take the risk. And I'm not saying go in blindly. You need to take calculated risks, make sure that you have certain safety nets and things in place. You don't go haphazard into what you're doing. But the point that I'm really trying to say is, if you believe in yourself, bet on yourself, invest in yourself at the end of the day. For me, my only regret is I wish I could have started this journey of entrepreneurship sooner rather than when I actually started in 2015. I believe I always had the tools, the industry experience and the learning that I got through has raised the bar in terms of confidence, problem solving, interacting with folks, negotiating. But all of those things you can learn along the way in your individual journeys. So at the end of the day, for me, it's bet on yourself, and persevere with it. So for me, in terms of an example, I think one of the first ventures that I wanted to get into would have been just as I came out of university. So that would have been 06. But at the time, my parents would have advised, get that first job. And what that meant was I couldn't give that my all, couldn't give that my full dedication. And the venture that I wanted to build was a real simple one. Digital agency, just building solutions for customers, software development agency, building solutions because I had built a network from the university of folks from computer science. Everybody is passionate, ready, geared up to go out into the world and build amazing things. So I had a ready team available at my disposal. And the idea was, let's lead these guys into battle and let's do amazing things together. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out. I had to do that on my own on a much smaller scale. Was able to scale to about 6 figures over 18 months. But at the end of the day, the perspective between the generations, I would say my folks were more risk averse compared to where I was at that point in time in my journey. They did bring some wisdom along the way and some guidance. Not discounting that. So do keep that in mind. Your parents have walked this journey before, so they have seen things that you may not have even thought about as yet. So the idea is it's all about blending all of that advice together and still being able to venture out in some form or fashion. One sort of proverb that we have locally is that you never enter a pool from the steps, you just jump right in. That's how I describe the experience. Bet on yourself, you have that confidence, give it that college try at the end of the day, because all we have is time. And when you look back in life, you don't want to regret those being the things that you wish you did and didn't do.
I like it.
I was going to ask a very different question, but I was expecting a very similar answer. So I love that response. I think that's great advice for me personally, but also our listeners as well. So I think we should jump right into the rapid fire.
Yeah, let's do it.
Again, six questions. We recommend taking about 30 seconds on each one, if you can, but we just want to get your thoughts on these. So first question is, how much sleep do you get?
How much sleep do I get? That's a good question. On a good day, I get about 6 hours sleep, and on a regular day, I probably get about 3 hours sleep. So for me, I do a lot of my crunching and good productive work late at night. So between 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., I can get a lot of stuff done. I guess it's a combination of history from corporate life, building presentations, doing all those things at home. You can't do those things in the office. And then, for startup life, it's all on you. There's no one else that's going to pick up the slack, so you just need to get shit done.
Okay.
Oh, man, yes, sir.
What's your favorite book and why?
Favorite book. 0 to 1, Peter Thiel. That has given me a lot of foundation for the journey that I'm going through right now. I think it's a must read. The key takeaway from that book is have a contrarian view of life and business. If you are following the masses, you are going in the wrong direction. So the idea here is you need to have an opposed view. Maybe there's an alternative purpose behind things. He talks about competition. Try to find ways where there is no competition. You can eliminate competition, because competition erodes profit margins at the end of the day, and you're in business to make money.
Excellent. I'm going to modify this question, but it's the same idea. 2006 you gets thrown in 2024 right now. What's the first thing that you do starting your career over, basically with nothing, back to who you were in 2006 and what you had?
I'm not sure I get a question. Say it for me one more time.
Yeah. So imagine you from 2006. You have your knowledge and what you had then, but you get thrown into 2024 right now today, and you have to start your career over with nothing. What's the first thing that you would do?
For me, go work at a startup. Understand how it works. See the mechanics behind it. Be in a place filled with energy. Unfortunate for me, my first job was at an insurance conglomerate, and life and energy in that organization is here. The energy that I was looking for and the energy level that I was bringing was up here. Understand? Fortunately for me, I only stuck around for 3 months. Had I stuck there, I probably would have been there for the rest of my career. Back here in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, it's very different from that Silicon Valley, that US style mentality to jobs, where you move around quickly, you get quick promotions, you upgrade your salary and things like that. It's a much smaller market, so in terms of opportunity, they're significantly less. So you would see a lot of what the term that we use as lifers, people who stay in one organization for their entire professional career and retire. I made a promise to myself that I would not be one of those.
Okay. What's most important to you in life?
Um, I guess 2006 version of me would have said money. For me would be for family, my loved ones. I believe surrounded by those who love and care would support me and give me everything that I need to get to those things. Money comes and goes at the end of the day, but your relationships are the valued things at the end of the day, and I believe that's where your legacy lies.
Wonderful. If you could change anything about the world, what would it be?
If I can change anything about the world, what would it be? All right. Um, talent is equally distributed, but opportunity isn't. I believe talent can come from anywhere. It can look anyhow. Um, so increasing opportunities for those who may be underrepresented, those who may be underestimated, may not come from the typical backgrounds where you would see those thriving from. Increasing exposure and opportunities for them. That's how I would change the world.
Okay, last question here. How do you want to be remembered?
How remembered. All right, so good one. It comes back again to family at the end of the day. Being able to um, the aspiration is to have kids one day, being able to give them opportunities that I didn't have. So for me, it's all about giving them that head start, giving them that advantage, always encouraging them, and being able to say that I love you. And that's how I want to be remembered.
I love it. I think that's a perfect way to end off. I think so much of you, what you're doing, even though was kind of unsaid, is centered around family. With your family of brothers that are building this together, you're creating a family of influencers in order to capitalize on that two-way marketplace and building that community. I think that's one of the best ways to end this off with a phenomenal idea.